Welcome to Revenge Nexus 2.0, where love turns into betrayal and betrayal turns into the sweetest revenge. If you love stories filled with shocking twists, heartbreak, and justice served cold, then hit that like, share, and comment to support the channel. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a revenge story that will keep you hooked till the very end. Now, let's begin. The sound of wedding bells should bring joy, but for one bride, they echoed the beginning of a carefully planned revenge. The grand ballroom was bathed in golden light, chandeliers reflecting off the polished marble floors. The scent of fresh roses filled the air, and soft music played in the background as elegantly dressed guests raised their champagne glasses in celebration. It was supposed to be the happiest night of my life. I sat at the center of it all, draped in an exquisite white gown, my fingers curled around the edge of my veil as I forced a smile. The man sitting beside me, my newly wedded husband, held my hand tightly, whispering sweet nothings in my ear, making everyone believe we were the perfect couple. But if only they knew. If only they knew the truth about Ryan Carter. The man I had just married, the man who had destroyed me in ways no one could ever imagine, was laughing, clueless to the storm that was about to hit him. I glanced at the guests, each face familiar yet distant, some laughing, some drinking, some unaware of the carefully spun web of lies surrounding this wedding. Everything was in place. Every move had been calculated, every detail perfected. And tonight, I would have my revenge. But tell me, if you were betrayed by the one you loved the most, would you forgive, or would you take revenge? Comment below what you would do. The golden glow of the chandeliers bathed the grand ballroom in a soft, elegant light. The air carried the scent of freshly cut roses, mixed with the rich aroma of champagne. Laughter, music, and the gentle clinking of glasses echoed through the grand hall, where everyone had gathered to celebrate my wedding. It was supposed to be the happiest night of my life, a night every girl dreams of. But tonight wasn't about love. Tonight was about revenge. Sitting at the center of the beautifully decorated table, I felt the weight of every gaze in the room. My dress, a breathtaking piece of ivory silk embroidered with delicate silver thread, sparkled under the soft glow of the candles. My hands rested gently on my lap, my fingers curling slightly, hiding the storm raging inside me. Beside me sat Ryan Carter, my newly wedded husband. His hand was wrapped around mine, his fingers warm against my skin. He leaned in, whispering, "You look breathtaking, sweetheart." I turned to him, forcing a soft smile. "So do you." He was undeniably handsome, the very image of a perfect groom. Dressed in a sharp black tuxedo, his dark brown hair neatly styled, and his striking blue eyes scanning me with admiration, he played the part of a devoted husband flawlessly. Too bad he was nothing but a liar. I looked away, my smile fading the moment he turned his head to acknowledge another guest. My heart clenched, but not in the way a bride's heart should on her wedding night. It clenched with rage, with betrayal, with the weight of secrets only I knew. He thought I loved him. He thought I was his. He had no idea what was coming. Would you still marry someone if you knew they had betrayed you? Drop a comment below and let me know. 6 months ago. The memory played in my mind like an old film reel, pulling me back to the moment everything changed. I had been madly in love with Ryan, or at least I thought I was. We had been together for almost 3 years, and I had believed every promise he made. "It's just you and me forever. I would never hurt you. You're the only one I want." It had started as a gut feeling, a strange sense that something wasn't right. The late-night work meetings, the sudden changes in his schedule, The way his phone was always on silent whenever I was around. I had ignored it at first, convincing myself that I was overthinking. Until the day I found her earring in his apartment. A delicate golden stud lying there on his nightstand, as if mocking me. It wasn't mine. I never wore that style. My heart had pounded against my ribs as I picked it up, staring at it as a nauseating wave of realization crashed over me. Something inside me shattered. I had waited, my hands trembling, my mind spinning as I pieced everything together. When he walked in that evening, I held up the earring, my voice barely above a whisper. "Whose is this?" His reaction had told me everything. The slight widening of his eyes, the way his jaw tensed before he forced a casual chuckle. "Oh, that? Must be my sister's." Ryan didn't have a sister. That night, my love for him died. And in its place, something else was born. A hunger for revenge. Ever caught someone cheating? What would you do if you were in my place? Let me know in the comments. Back to the wedding night. I blinked away the past and refocused on the present. My grip on Ryan's hand tightened ever so slightly as I smiled at the guests raising their glasses in our honor. Tonight, it would all begin. The betrayal he thought I never knew about, the lies he believed he got away with. I would unravel them one by one, slowly, painfully, the same way he had broken me. A toast was called. His best man, Daniel, stood up, raising his glass with a grin. To Ryan and his beautiful bride, may your love last a lifetime. A lifetime? Not a chance. I lifted my own glass, letting the golden champagne swirl under the lights. The first sip was always the sweetest, wasn't it? Just like love. Sweet at first, bitter when it ends. Ryan squeezed my hand. "You happy, babe?" I turned to him, my expression unreadable. More than ever. And with that, I took my first sip, hiding the smirk playing at my lips. Because tonight, the real game was about to begin. Would you play it cool or expose the truth on the wedding night? Comment below. The wedding reception was in full swing. Laughter, music, and the occasional clinking of glasses filled the air. People danced, talked, and celebrated the so-called happiest night of my life. But none of them knew. None of them knew that the perfect bride they were smiling at was already planning her husband's destruction. Ryan sat beside me, completely unaware, his arm draped casually over the back of my chair as he chatted with his friends. He looked so at ease, so in control. He had no idea that the woman he had just married was not the same woman who once loved him blindly. He had turned me into something else, something ruthless. I let my fingers trail over the rim of my champagne glass, my thoughts racing. Tonight was the first step. I had spent months planning this. Months pretending, smiling, acting like the perfect fiancé while secretly setting the stage for my revenge. And now, the game had begun. If you were betrayed, would you play it slow or expose everything at once? Drop a comment. Just as I was about to take another sip of champagne, a familiar voice behind me sent a chill down my spine. "Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Carter." My entire body tensed. I knew that voice. Slowly, I turned, coming face to face with a woman I had never expected to see here. Isabella Monroe, Ryan's ex. The one he had told me was crazy, obsessed, completely out of my life. Yet here she was. Her dark eyes gleamed with something unreadable as she smiled. A smile that held secrets. Her presence alone was enough to shift the air in the room. A few guests had already turned to steal glances, sensing the tension. Ryan stiffened beside me, his grip on my hand tightening slightly. That was my first win of the night. He was nervous. "Isabella," Ryan said, his voice carefully controlled. "Didn't expect to see you here." She let out a soft, almost amused chuckle. "Oh, I'm sure you didn't." I tilted my head, studying her. She was beautiful, with striking features and an elegance that made her stand out. But I wasn't intimidated, not tonight. "You know, I debated whether I should come," Isabella continued, swirling the wine in her glass. "But then I thought, how could I possibly miss the wedding of a man who once swore he'd never love anyone but me?" A hush fell over our table. The few guests nearby tried to pretend they weren't listening, but their curiosity was evident. Ryan let out a forced laugh, running a hand through his hair. "That was a long time ago." "Was it?" Isabella's gaze flickered to me, and for the first time I saw something familiar. A quiet understanding. She knew what Ryan was. And maybe, just maybe, she had been burned by him too. Would you team up with an ex to take down a cheater? Or would you handle it alone? Comment below. I decided to have a little fun. I reached for Ryan's hand and laced my fingers with his, flashing Isabella the most sickeningly sweet smile I could manage. "Well," I said, tilting my head, "Ryan and I couldn't be happier. He's been nothing but the perfect man to me." Ryan glanced at me, his jaw tightening slightly. He knew what I was doing. I could feel the tension in his grip, but he had no choice but to play along. Isabella smiled back, but there was a knowing glint in her eyes. "Oh, I'm sure." She lifted her glass. "To the happy couple." I clinked my champagne flute against hers, never breaking eye contact. Tonight was about planting seeds of doubt, of unease. And judging by the slight shift in Ryan's posture, I had succeeded. Because I knew one thing for sure. Isabella wasn't here to congratulate us. She was here for something else. And so was I. If you were in my place, would you expose Ryan's secrets tonight or let him sweat? Let me know in the comments. The night was still young, but I could already feel the cracks forming in Ryan's perfect little world. Isabella's presence had changed everything. She wasn't just a bitter ex crashing the wedding, she was a threat. And Ryan knew it. He had been tense ever since she arrived, his grip on my waist tightening every time she spoke, his smile forced whenever someone mentioned her name. He was trying too hard to pretend he wasn't affected, which meant he was terrified. And that was exactly what I wanted. What do you think Isabella knows about Ryan? Take a guess in the comments. Ryan had always been smooth, a natural liar, but tonight his composure was slipping. I watched as he made his way across the ballroom, shaking hands, laughing at jokes, but his eyes kept darting toward Isabella. She was across the room now, standing by the bar, sipping her wine like she had all the time in the world. Her confidence unsettled him, and I wasn't the only one who noticed. "Your husband looks nervous," a voice whispered beside me. I turned to see Daniel, Ryan's best man, smirking as he took a sip of whiskey. He had been watching too. "Wonder why?" he mused, his tone light but his eyes sharp. Daniel was a wild card. He and Ryan had been close for years, but I had never fully trusted him. He was observant, too observant. And something about the way he was looking at me now made me wonder if he suspected I knew more than I let on. "Nervous?" I said, laughing softly. Why would Ryan be nervous on his wedding night? Daniel tilted his head, studying me. Then he leaned in slightly. "Because secrets don't stay buried forever, sweetheart." My breath hitched. Was that a warning or a challenge? Do you think Daniel knows something? Drop your theories in the comments. Ryan returned to my side, placing a hand on the small of my back. His grip was firm, too firm. "Let's dance," he said. It wasn't a request. I let him lead me onto the dance floor, where other couples were already swaying to the slow rhythm of a classic love song. His hand rested on my waist, his fingers twitching slightly against the fabric of my dress. "What did Isabella say to you?" he murmured. I looked up at him, feigning innocence. Nothing important. Why? His jaw clenched. I don't want her ruining this night. I smiled sweetly. Oh, Ryan. What could she possibly say that would ruin our wedding night? He forced a chuckle, but I could feel the tension radiating off him. And then, he made his first mistake. His gaze flickered past me, just for a second, toward Isabella. That was all I needed to confirm what I had suspected. He wasn't just worried about her being here. He was hiding something. Something big. What do you think Ryan's secret is? Let me know in the comments. The dance ended, and Ryan excused himself to speak with a family member. I took the opportunity to slip away, straight toward Isabella. She saw me coming, but didn't look surprised. She simply raised an eyebrow as I stopped in front of her. Enjoying the wedding? I asked, my voice calm. She swirled the wine in her glass, more than I expected. We stared at each other for a moment. Two women who had loved the same man. Two women who had been burned by the same man. Why are you really here, Isabella? I asked. Her lips curled into a smirk. To remind Ryan that the past doesn't just disappear? My pulse quickened. She knew something. And what exactly does that mean? I pressed. Isabella leaned in, lowering her voice. It means, sweetheart, that your husband isn't who he pretends to be. I held her gaze, my heart pounding. I already knew Ryan was a liar, a cheater, a manipulator. But if Isabella had come all this way to warn me, what else was he hiding? What do you think Isabella is talking about? Could Ryan's secret be bigger than just cheating? Comment below. I stared at Isabella, my pulse hammering. Your husband isn't who he pretends to be. Her words echoed in my mind like a warning bell. Ryan was a liar, a cheater. I knew that. But Isabella's expression told me that whatever she was referring to was much, much worse. I needed to find out what she knew. What do you think Ryan is hiding? Comment your guesses below. Before I could press Isabella for answers, I felt a firm grip on my wrist. Ryan. He had appeared out of nowhere, his expression dark as he pulled me away from Isabella. His fingers dug into my skin just enough to warn me. What the hell are you doing? He hissed under his breath, his smile still intact for the sake of the guests around us. I glanced at the crowd, then back at him. Just making conversation. With Isabella? His jaw tensed. Stay away from her. The way he said it, it wasn't a request. It was a command. And that only made me more curious. I gently removed his hand from my wrist, keeping my expression soft. Ryan, it's our wedding night. Why are you so worried? His eyes flickered. Just for a second. Just enough for me to see it. Fear. Why do you think Ryan is scared of Isabella? Drop your theories below. I knew I couldn't push Ryan too hard right now. Not yet. So I played my part. I smiled, I laughed, I let him lead me back into the reception. But my mind was already working. I needed to talk to Isabella, alone. An hour later, while the guests were busy with drinks and dancing, I slipped away. I found her on the balcony, leaning against the railing, her wine glass still in her hand. The city lights stretched behind her, flickering like tiny stars. She turned her head slightly as I approached. Took you long enough. I exhaled sharply. Enough games. Tell me, what do you know about Ryan? Isabella stared at me for a long moment. Then she set her glass down and pulled something out of her purse. A phone. She tapped the screen, then turned it toward me. And my blood ran cold. On the screen, Ryan stood in a dimly lit room. His face was half-shadowed, his expression unreadable. But it wasn't just Ryan in the video. There was a woman. She was crying, begging. Please, Ryan, I won't say anything. Just let me go. My stomach twisted. Ryan took a step closer to her in the video. His voice was calm, too calm. You shouldn't have gotten involved. And then, the screen glitched. The video cut off before I could see what happened next. but I already knew. Who do you think the woman in the video was? And what did Ryan do to her? Comment your thoughts. I swallowed hard, forcing myself to stay composed. Who is she? I whispered. Isabella held my gaze. Her name was Emily Parker. The name meant nothing to me. I shook my head. I don't. You wouldn't, Isabella cut in. Because Ryan made sure no one ever spoke about her again. My skin went cold. Made sure? What happened to her? I asked. Isabella's jaw tightened. She disappeared. A sharp breath left my lips. You think I don't think. Isabella's voice was firm. I know. The weight of her words sank in. My husband wasn't just a liar. He was dangerous. What would you do if you found out your partner was hiding something this dark? Let me know in the comments. I turned away from Isabella, gripping the balcony railing as my mind raced. I had married a man who wasn't just unfaithful. He was capable of far worse. And now, I had proof. But revenge needed patience. If I exposed him now, he'd deny it. He'd spin lies. He'd twist everything until I was the one left looking like the villain. Number, I needed to be smart. I needed to make him suffer. And for that, I had to keep playing the role of the perfect wife. Thank you, Isabella, I said, my voice steady. I'll handle it from here. She studied me, her expression unreadable. Be careful, sweetheart. Ryan isn't the type to let go easily. I smiled, a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Neither am I. Would you stay and take revenge, or leave while you still can? Drop a comment. I walked back into the ballroom, my heartbeat steady, my face betraying nothing. Outside, the night was cold. Inside, the warmth of flickering chandeliers and laughter filled the air. Everyone was still celebrating, clueless. Clueless that the man they were toasting to was a liar, a monster. Ryan stood at the center of it all, flashing his perfect smile, shaking hands, laughing as if he didn't have blood on his hands. But I knew better now. Thanks to Isabella, Emily Parker, a woman who had disappeared. Ryan's connection to her, a video that cut off at just the right moment. It wasn't hard to put the pieces together. My husband had destroyed a woman before, and if I didn't play this right, I could be next. But that's the thing about men like Ryan. They think they hold all the power. They think women will always be weak. They forget that a woman scorned is the most dangerous enemy of all. If you were in my place, would you confront him or make him suffer slowly? Comment below. As I reached Ryan, he turned to me, his blue eyes searching mine. You disappeared for a while, he murmured, his arm wrapping around my waist. Where did you go? I smiled up at him. Just getting some air. He studied me. I knew he was looking for something, a crack, a sign that I knew too much. I gave him nothing. Let's dance, I said, reaching for his hand. Surprise flickered across his face, but he nodded, leading me onto the dance floor. The music was soft, romantic. A perfect moment for a bride and groom. But as his arms wrapped around me, my mind wasn't on love. It was on destruction. You look happy, he said, pressing a soft kiss to my forehead. Why wouldn't I be? I whispered. I just married the perfect man. The perfect liar. How do you think Ryan will react when he realizes the tables have turned? Comment below. As we danced, Ryan's grip tightened slightly. Stay away from Isabella. I tilted my head, feigning confusion. What? Why? His jaw clenched. She's trying to cause trouble. I don't want her ruining tonight. Ruining it how? I pressed, my voice innocent. Ryan exhaled sharply. You wouldn't understand. Just trust me, okay? Trust? I almost laughed. Instead, I leaned in, resting my head on his shoulder. Of course, baby. That's when I felt it. His heartbeat, fast, uneven. He was nervous, terrified. And that told me everything I needed to know. Do you think Ryan will catch on to the revenge plan? Or is he too blind? Drop your theories. I needed to start breaking him down. Slowly, carefully. I pulled back and gave him a teasing smile. By the way, I saw Daniel earlier. He told me something interesting. Ryan stiffened. Daniel? Yes, I said, lowering my voice. He said secrets don't stay buried forever. Ryan's face drained of color. Just for a second. But I caught it. He recovered quickly, forcing a chuckle. Daniel drinks too much. Maybe, I shrugged. Or maybe he knows something. Ryan swallowed hard. He wasn't laughing anymore. Do you think Daniel is part of Ryan's past secrets? Or is he just messing with him? Drop your guesses. The moment the dance ended, Ryan excused himself. I watched as he walked toward Daniel, pulling him aside. They spoke in hushed voices, but I didn't need to hear them. Ryan was panicking. I smirked. Good, but I wasn't done yet. If I wanted to destroy him, I needed more than just suspicion. I needed proof. And I had a feeling I knew exactly where to find it. Where do you think Ryan's secrets are hidden? His phone? His past? Comment below. Slipping away from the party, I made my way toward the hotel suite where we were supposed to spend our wedding night. Ryan had left his phone in his tuxedo jacket earlier. I had seen it. And if he was hiding something, there was a good chance it was in there. I pushed open the suite door and walked inside. The room was decorated beautifully. Rose petals, dim lights, a bottle of champagne waiting on the table. But I wasn't here for romance. I spotted Ryan's jacket draped over a chair. My heart pounded as I reached for it, pulling out his phone. Locked. Of course, I needed his passcode. Just then, a sharp knock on the door. I froze. Another knock, louder, more impatient, and then a voice, low, familiar, dangerous. Open the door, sweetheart. Ryan. Do you think he knows I'm onto him? What should I do next? Drop your advice in the comments. Open the door, sweetheart. Ryan's voice was calm. Too calm. But I knew better now. That voice, that charm, it was all a mask, and I wasn't falling for it anymore. I stood frozen in our honeymoon suite, his phone clenched in my hands, my heart hammering in my chest. I needed to think. Fast. What would you do in my place? Hide the phone or face him head on? Drop your thoughts. I forced myself to move. In one swift motion, I slid Ryan's phone under the silk pillow on the bed, just as the knocking turned into pounding. I know you're in there. His voice was still smooth, but I could hear the edge of something else now. Impatience, frustration, maybe even fear. I took a deep breath, smoothed my dress, and walked to the door. The perfect wife, the perfect act. I turned the handle. The moment the door swung open, Ryan's blue eyes locked onto mine. His expression was unreadable, but his jaw was tight, his shoulders tense. He was looking for something. Hey, I said softly, tilting my head. What's wrong? He studied me for a long moment. Then his gaze flickered over my shoulder, scanning the room. What are you doing in here? He asked, stepping inside. I smiled. Just freshening up. It's been a long night. He didn't move, didn't blink. Alone? Something about the way he said it sent a chill down my spine. Was he testing me? Did he suspect something? I kept my face relaxed. Of course, who else would be here? His eyes darkened slightly. He didn't believe me. Do you think Ryan knows I'm hiding something? What should I do next? Drop your advice. Ryan took a step closer, closing the door behind him, locking it. My pulse quickened. You've been talking to Isabella, he said casually, removing his tuxedo jacket and tossing it onto a chair. What did she tell you? I swallowed, keeping my expression neutral. Nothing important. Ryan let out a low chuckle. Come on, baby, don't lie to me on our wedding night. He knew, not everything, but enough to be suspicious, enough to start digging. I couldn't let him see my fear. So I stepped closer, wrapping my arms around his neck, pressing my body against his, turning the game around. "Ryan," I whispered, trailing my fingers along his collar. "Why are you so worried about Isabella?" His eyes flickered with something, uncertainty. "She has a habit of causing trouble," he muttered, his hands tightening around my waist. "And I don't want her ruining what we have." I smiled. "What do we have, Ryan?" He stiffened. I felt it, the hesitation, the unspoken truth between us. "You're my wife," he said, his voice lower now. "And I don't like secrets between us." Secrets. The irony almost made me laugh. Should I push him further or play along? What's the best move? Let me know in the comments. A fatal mistake. Just then, a buzz. I tensed, Ryan's phone, vibrating from under the pillow. Shit. His head snapped toward the bed. His eyes narrowed slightly. What was that? I forced a giggle, stepping in front of him, blocking his path. Probably just a text from Daniel. He seemed drunk tonight. Ryan didn't move, didn't blink. Then, he smiled. Let's check. He stepped past me, reaching for the pillow. What should I do now? 'Cause a distraction? Let him see the phone? Drop your ideas below. I had seconds to react. Before Ryan's hand could reach the pillow, I grabbed his wrist, hard. "Ryan, wait." My voice was soft, pleading. He looked at me surprised. "I don't want to fight on our wedding night," I whispered, lowering my gaze. I just want us to be okay." I felt his body relax slightly. His breathing slowed. I had him. So before he could think, I pulled him into a kiss. Not because I wanted to, not because I loved him, but because I needed to buy myself time. The phone buzzed again, but Ryan was too distracted now, his hands gripping my waist, pulling me closer. "Would you do whatever it takes to win the game?" Let me know your thoughts. After a few moments, I pulled away, giving him a small smile. "I'm tired," I whispered. "Can we just talk about everything tomorrow?" Ryan studied me. I could see the war in his head. Then he nodded. "Okay." He grabbed the phone but didn't check it. Instead, he set it aside and began unbuttoning his shirt, heading to the bathroom. I exhaled shakily, my hands clenched at my sides. The second he disappeared behind the door, I rushed to his phone. The screen was still lit. A new message from an unknown number. "Unknown. She knows. Handle it." My stomach dropped. I read the message again. And again. She knows. They weren't talking about Isabella. They were talking about me. Who do you think sent the message? What does handle it mean? Drop your theories below. The bathroom door clicked open. I barely had time to set the phone back down before Ryan stepped out, a towel around his waist, his sharp eyes locking onto me. "You okay?" he asked. I swallowed hard, forcing a smile. "Of course, baby." He smirked. "Good." He walked toward me, his fingers tilting my chin up. "Because we have forever now, don't we?" My blood ran cold. Forever. Only one of us would make it that far. Would you run or fight? Let me know what you'd do next. I laid still in bed, my back facing Ryan, my heart racing. His breathing was even. Slow, controlled. But I knew he wasn't asleep. And neither was I. The message on his phone replayed in my mind like a warning siren. Unknown. She knows. Handle it. Who sent it? What did they mean by handle it? I wasn't stupid. That wasn't a warning. It was a threat. What would you do if you knew someone was planning something against you? Drop your thoughts. I needed to get out of here. Ryan might not suspect how much I knew yet, but it was only a matter of time before he put the pieces together. I carefully slid out of bed, moving in slow, measured steps toward the door. My breath hitched when the floor creaked slightly beneath my foot. Behind me, Ryan stirred. I froze. He let out a low sigh, shifting slightly, then went still again. I swallowed hard and continued moving. Step by step, breath by breath, almost there. Then, where are you going? Shit. Do you think Ryan is testing me, or does he already know? Drop your theories below. I turned slowly, my heart hammering against my ribs. Ryan was propped up on one elbow, his eyes shadowed in the dim light. I forced a soft laugh. Bathroom. His gaze flickered to the clock on the wall. 3:27 a.m. You don't look like someone who needs the bathroom, he said smoothly. I tilted my head, giving him a tired smile. And you don't look like someone who's sleeping. He smirked, but there was something else behind it now. Something calculating. Come here, he said, patting the space beside him. Everything in me screamed no, but I had to play this right, had to keep up the act. So I walked back to bed, sliding in beside him. His hand immediately found my waist, pulling me close. Too close. I love you, you know that? He whispered against my ear. A chill ran down my spine. Of course, I whispered back. Lieutenant. His fingers traced slow circles on my hip. Then tell me the truth. Did Isabella say something to you? There it was. The test. The trap. Should I admit I know something or keep playing along? What would you do? Drop your advice. I kept my voice soft, careful. Ryan, why are you so worried about Isabella? He exhaled as if deciding how much to say. Because she doesn't like seeing me happy. I almost laughed. Happy? I traced my fingers along his chest, keeping my breathing steady. Why would she care? She's just your ex, right? Ryan stilled for half a second. Then he smiled. Of course. Liar. I had seen the fear in his eyes at the wedding. He wasn't afraid of Isabella because she was an ex. He was afraid because she knew something. What do you think Isabella knows that makes Ryan so nervous? Drop your guesses. Ryan's grip on my waist loosened slightly, and his breathing slowed. Was he actually falling asleep? I waited. Minutes passed, then an hour, then silence. Carefully, I slid out of his grasp and reached for his phone. Locked, of course. I took a deep breath and hovered my finger over the screen. I had watched him unlock it so many times. Could I guess? I tried the first number that came to mind. His birthday. Wrong. The date of our wedding? Wrong. I was running out of chances. Think. Then it hit me. Emily Parker. What if? I typed in her birthday, the one I had seen on the missing persons report Isabella had shown me. The screen unlocked. Bingo. Would you go through his messages first, or his photos? Where do you think the real secrets are hidden? Drop your thoughts. My hands trembled as I scrolled through Ryan's messages. Most of them were business contacts, friends, meaningless conversations. But then, unknown. You need to handle Isabella before she ruins everything. My blood turned to ice. Another message. Unknown. If she talks, we're both screwed. You know what to do. I clenched my jaw. Ryan wasn't just lying. He wasn't just cheating. He was covering up something big. I scrolled further. Then I found it. A contact saved under a single letter. J. I clicked it. J. She's asking questions. If she keeps digging, she'll end up like Emily. The world tilted. Like Emily. Emily Parker. The woman who had disappeared. Who do you think Jay is? And what do you think happened to Emily? Drop your theories. I snapped the phone shut just as Ryan stirred. His arm reached out, searching for me. I slid back under the covers just in time. He sighed in his sleep, pulling me closer. But I wasn't afraid anymore, because now I had proof. Now I knew exactly who I was dealing with. Would you expose him immediately or keep collecting evidence? What's the best move? Let me know in the comments. I lay still in Ryan's arms, my heart hammering inside my chest. I had proof now. Proof that Emily Parker didn't just disappear. Proof that Ryan was involved. Proof that someone else was helping him. Whoever they were, they knew the truth. They knew what happened to Emily. I needed to find out. And for that, I needed to get closer. Dangerously close. Would you risk staying in the game for more proof or escape while you still can? Drop your thoughts. Morning came too quickly. Sunlight streamed through the windows, painting everything golden. But the warmth didn't reach me, because I wasn't safe here. Ryan stirred beside me, stretching lazily before turning to face me. He smiled, running his fingers through my hair. Morning, wife. I forced a sleepy smile. Morning, husband. His blue eyes searched mine, still dark with suspicion. I knew last night hadn't erased his doubts. I was thinking, he murmured, trailing his fingers down my arm. We should take a little honeymoon trip, just the two of us. My stomach twisted. Honeymoon? This wasn't about romance. This was about control. Ryan wanted me away from Isabella, away from people. He wanted me isolated, and I wasn't stupid. If your husband suddenly wanted to take you away, would you go? Or would you run? Drop your advice? I couldn't refuse. That would raise suspicion. So I nodded. That sounds perfect. Ryan's gaze softened, but I didn't miss the flicker of relief in his eyes. He thought he had me wrapped around his finger again. Let him think that. I reached up, tracing his jawline. But can we leave after the charity gala tonight? I don't want to miss it. It's important to me. He hesitated. I don't know, baby. Please? I whispered. I saw the moment he gave in. Fine, one last night out. I kissed him, letting my lips linger against his. Because tonight, he wouldn't see what was coming. What do you think I'm planning for the gala? Drop your guesses. Later that afternoon, I sent a message to Isabella. Meet me at the gala. I need answers, no mistakes. Her reply came within minutes. Isabella, you're playing a dangerous game, sweetheart. I don't have a choice. I didn't trust Isabella completely, but I needed someone who wasn't Ryan. Someone who wanted the truth as much as I did. And I had a feeling she knew who Jay was. Do you think Isabella is on my side? Or is she hiding something too? Drop your thoughts. By the time we arrived at the charity gala, the air was thick with tension. Ryan had his arm wrapped around my waist, the picture-perfect husband. But I could feel it, his control tightening. He hadn't checked his phone all evening. Was he waiting for a message? I scanned the crowd, looking for Isabella. Then, I saw him. A man standing near the bar, sipping whiskey. His dark eyes flickered toward us just for a second before he turned away. Something about him felt off, familiar. I grabbed Ryan's hand, squeezing it. Who's that? I asked casually. Ryan barely glanced. No one important. He was nervous. And then it hit me. Jay. I had just found Jay. Who do you think Jay is? Someone close to Ryan? Or someone from his past? Drop your theories. I spotted Isabella near the entrance. She met my gaze and nodded slightly. Time for the first move. I turned to Ryan. I need some air. I'll be back soon, okay? He hesitated. Do you want me to come? I smiled sweetly. I'll only be a minute, baby. Enjoy your drink. The moment I walked away, I felt it. Ryan's eyes on me. He didn't trust me anymore. Good. I slipped through the crowd and met Isabella near the garden entrance. Tell me who Jay is, I demanded. She took a deep breath. He's not just some guy, sweetheart. He's... A hand grabbed my wrist. Ryan. His grip was tight, his smile sharp. What are we talking about, ladies? What should I do now? Confront him or act innocent? Drop your advice below. Ryan's grip didn't loosen. Isabella stepped forward, her smile smooth. I was just telling your wife about how much she reminds me of Emily. Emily. Ryan's jaw clenched. I saw it then, the flicker of rage. The brief moment where he wasn't in control. You should go back inside, he told her coldly. Isabella smirked. Afraid of what I might say? Ryan exhaled, his grip on me loosening slightly. Stay out of my marriage, Isabella. And then, he turned to me, his eyes sharp, unreadable. You too, baby. Stay away from her. What do you think Ryan is planning? Is he getting desperate? Drop your theories. After the gala, back at our hotel suite, Ryan stepped into the shower. I reached for his phone. Unlocked now. One new message from JJ. She's getting too close. If you don't handle it, I will. My stomach dropped. They weren't talking about Isabella anymore. They were talking about me. Would you run or make the final move? What's the best play? Drop your thoughts. I stared at the message on Ryan's phone, my blood running cold. Jay, she's getting too close. If you don't handle it, I will. I had expected danger, expected manipulation, lies, and deceit. But this was a death sentence. They weren't warning Ryan about me. They were threatening me. What do you think handle it means? Do you think Ryan will act first? Drop your thoughts. Ryan was still in the shower, the sound of running water filling the room. I had seconds before he came out. I could run, or I could finish this. I gritted my teeth. Running meant fear. Running meant letting him win. I had come too far. I had a plan. And tonight it ends. Would you run while you have the chance or face him head on? Drop your choice below. I locked his phone and placed it exactly where I found it. Then I moved quickly. I grabbed my own phone, typing out a single message to Isabella. Me. Be ready. It's happening tonight. Her reply was immediate. Isabella. Are you sure? I hesitated for only a second. Then, me. Yes. Do you think Isabella will actually help me? Or is she hiding her own motives? Drop your theories. The shower turned off. I barely had time to step back before Ryan walked out of the bathroom, steam curling behind him. A towel hung low on his hips, his damp hair falling over his forehead. He looked like the perfect husband. But I knew better now. Hey, baby. His voice was smooth as silk, but his eyes cold, calculating. He wasn't fooled. He walked toward me slowly, his gaze never leaving mine. You seem distracted. I forced a soft smile. Just tired. He stopped in front of me, tilting my chin up with 2 fingers. You'd tell me if something was wrong, wouldn't you? A chill ran down my spine. This was a warning. I nodded. Of course. Liar. Do you think Ryan already suspects me? Or is he still in control? Drop your guesses. I needed to get away, just for a few minutes. I'm going to grab a drink, I said, casually, stepping toward the door. Ryan's fingers wrapped around my wrist, tight. I'll come with you. My heart pounded. I couldn't let him follow me. I forced a giggle, placing my other hand over his. You don't have to. I won't be long. His eyes darkened slightly. I insist. I was trapped. What's the best way to get rid of him? Distraction? Lie? Drop your advice. Before I could think of a way out, a knock at the door. Ryan tensed. So did I. Slowly, he turned toward the door. Another knock, more impatient this time. Who is it? Ryan called. No answer. Then a voice. Isabella. Isabella. Open up, Ryan. We need to talk. Why do you think Isabella came to the room? Is she helping me, or does she have her own plan? Drop your theories. Ryan let go of my wrist, stepping toward the door. He opened it just enough to see her. What the hell are you doing here? He hissed. Isabella smirked. Relax. I just wanted to congratulate you on your marriage. I could feel Ryan's tension. He didn't want her here, but Isabella wasn't here for pleasantries. Her eyes flickered to me. Actually, I need to talk to your wife. Ryan's expression darkened. No. My heart slammed against my ribs. He was blocking me from her. Do you think Ryan will let me go with Isabella? Or will things get violent? Drop your thoughts. I met Isabella's gaze, and for the first time, I saw it. The truth. She wasn't just here for me. She was here to end this. Ryan, I said softly. Let me talk to her. He turned to me slowly. I told you to stay away from her. She's not going anywhere, Isabella cut in, stepping forward. And neither are you. Ryan stiffened. Something was happening. I looked at Isabella. She smiled. Then, a gun. She pulled it from her coat, raising it toward Ryan. Did you see that coming? What do you think happens next? Drop your predictions. Ryan took a slow step back, his hands raising slightly. Isabella, let's not do anything stupid. Oh, please, she scoffed. You're the king of stupid decisions. Her grip on the gun tightened. Where's Emily, Ryan? My breath caught. Emily. Ryan's eyes flickered between us, trapped, cornered. I don't know what you're talking about, he said smoothly. Isabella let out a bitter laugh. Wrong answer. Do you think Isabella will shoot? Or does she have another plan? Drop your thoughts. The room was thick with tension. One wrong move and this could turn into murder? Ryan exhaled, lowering his hands. You don't want to do this, Isabella. You're right, she smirked. I don't want to, but I will. She cocked the gun. Ready. And Ryan? For the first time tonight, he looked afraid. What do you think Ryan's next move will be? Try to escape? Fight back? Drop your theories. The room was silent, the tension thick enough to choke on. Isabella's hands were steady, the gun aimed directly at Ryan's chest. Ryan stood frozen, his jaw tight, his hands slightly raised in surrender. For the first time, he wasn't in control. And me? I was watching the man who ruined me finally get a taste of his own fear. Do you think Ryan will fight back, or will he finally confess? Drop your predictions. Where is Emily, Ryan? Isabella's voice was sharp, unshaking. Ryan exhaled, running a hand through his damp hair. She left, he said simply. Isabella laughed, a cold, bitter sound. Left? No, Ryan. She didn't just leave. She disappeared. Ryan's fingers twitched. A muscle in his jaw clenched. He was cracking. I don't know what you want me to say, he muttered. I want the truth, Isabella snapped. Because I know what happened. I just want to hear it from your mouth. Ryan's eyes flickered toward me for a split second. He was calculating. I gave him nothing. No reaction. No lifeline. He was on his own. What do you think Ryan did to Emily? Drop your theories. Fine, Ryan finally said. He sighed, shaking his head. Emily was blackmailing me. A chill ran down my spine. She found out about something. Private. And she was going to ruin my career. I told her to stop, but she wouldn't let it go. His voice was calm, controlled. Too controlled. So what? You killed her? Isabella demanded. Ryan's lips pressed into a thin line. Number I paid her to disappear. Liar. Isabella's hands tightened around the gun. Then where is she, Ryan? If she just disappeared, why hasn't anyone seen her? He hesitated, just for a second, but it was enough. Do you believe Ryan, or is he still lying? Drop your thoughts. I stepped forward, my voice low. Who is Jay? Ryan's head snapped toward me. For the first time tonight, true panic flashed across his face. What? His voice was barely above a whisper. Jay, I repeated, stepping closer. The person texting you. The one threatening me. The one helping you cover this up. Who is it? Ryan swallowed hard. He shook his head. You don't understand. Tell me, Ryan. His gaze darted between me and Isabella, his breathing uneven now. And then his phone buzzed. Another message. Jay, end this. Now. Who do you think Jay is? Someone close? A friend? Drop your guesses? Ryan closed his eyes for a long moment. When he opened them, something inside him had changed. You want the truth? His voice was quieter now. Isabella's grip on the gun didn't waver. Emily is dead. The words hit like a bullet. Dead. The room spun slightly, my stomach twisting. I had known, but hearing it? You killed her. Isabella's voice shook slightly. No. Ryan's eyes were cold, hollow. Jay did. Silence. My breath caught in my throat. Who the hell is Jay? I whispered. Ryan hesitated. Then finally, he spoke. Jonathan. My mind blanked for a second. Jonathan, Ryan's best friend, his business partner, his best man. Jay was Daniel's brother. Did you see that coming? What do you think Jonathan's role in all this was? Drop your theories. Jonathan killed Emily? I repeated, my voice barely above a whisper. Ryan nodded, running a hand down his face. It wasn't supposed to happen. She was threatening to go public. She knew things about my business, and I was handling it. But Jonathan decided she was too much of a risk. He exhaled, shaking his head. I didn't stop him in time. Isabella let out a slow breath, her grip tightening on the gun. So you covered for him? Ryan met her gaze. Wouldn't you? No remorse, no guilt, just cold survival. What should happen to Ryan now? Arrest? Revenge? Drop your thoughts. The air felt suffocating. The truth was out, but it wasn't enough. Ryan was still standing, breathing, unpunished, and Jonathan was still out there. You destroyed her, Isabella whispered. Ryan tilted his head. I didn't pull the trigger. No, but you let it happen. Isabella's finger hovered over the trigger. And for the first time, I wondered, was she really going to do it? Should Isabella pull the trigger? Or should we handle this another way? Drop your decision. The tension snapped. Ryan moved, a blur, a struggle, a gunshot. The room filled with deafening silence. And then, Ryan staggered back, his hand pressing against his side, blood seeping through his white shirt. I gasped. Isabella stood frozen, the gun still aimed. She had actually done it. Do you think Ryan deserved that? Or was it too far? Drop your thoughts. Ryan stumbled, gripping the edge of the table for balance. His eyes burned with rage. You! His voice was hoarse. He wasn't dead, not yet. But he was weakened. And now, I had a choice. Should I finish what Isabella started? Or let Ryan suffer? Drop your final decision. Ryan staggered backward, clutching his side as blood seeped through his shirt. His breathing was heavy, ragged. But his eyes were still filled with rage. He wasn't afraid. He wasn't begging. Even at the end, Ryan Carter still thought he could win. Do you think Ryan still has a backup plan? Or is he finally out of options? Drop your theories. Isabella kept the gun raised, her finger twitching near the trigger. You don't get to walk away from this, she said, her voice steady. Ryan let out a sharp, breathless chuckle. Even now he was smiling. And what are you going to do, Isabella? Kill me? He coughed, his hand pressing harder against his wound. I stepped forward. Maybe you deserve it. He looked at me then, Really looked. And for the first time tonight, I saw something other than arrogance. A flicker of understanding. Would you let him die or keep him alive for justice? Drop your decision below. You still don't get it, do you? Ryan's voice was strained, but his smirk remained. I clenched my fists. Enlighten me. His gaze flickered toward Isabella, then back to me. I never wanted Emily dead. Silence. I covered for Jonathan, but I didn't order it. I tried to stop him, but he didn't care. Emily was a liability to both of us, and Jonathan decided to handle it before I could. His breathing was uneven now. And now that he knows you're involved, sweetheart? His smirk widened. You're next. Do you believe Ryan, or is he still playing games? Drop your thoughts. Before I could respond, Ryan let out a shaky breath and laughed. It's already too late, baby. My stomach dropped. His bloodied fingers fumbled into his pocket. I lunged forward, but it was too late. He pressed a button on his phone. A call was already in progress. To Jonathan. What do you think Jonathan is going to do now? Come after me? Cover his tracks? Drop your theories. The line was open, but Jonathan didn't speak. Neither did Ryan. But I knew Jonathan had heard everything. Ryan exhaled, shaking his head. I told you, baby. You don't win this game. I grabbed the phone, ending the call. But it was too late. Jonathan knew, and now he would come for me. Would you run, fight, or turn the tables on Jonathan? Drop your strategy. I looked at Ryan, bleeding, weak, but still grinning like he had already won. I had spent months planning my revenge. I had waited for the perfect moment to destroy him. But now I realized something. Ryan wasn't the real villain anymore. Jonathan was. Ryan had spent his life controlling people, manipulating them. And in the end, he had been manipulated too. I stepped forward. You were never as powerful as you thought you were, Ryan. His grin faltered, just a little. Then, a final gunshot. Did I pull the trigger? Did Isabella? Or was it someone else? Drop your final guesses. Ryan's body slumped to the ground. The blood pooled beneath him, dark, endless. He wasn't smiling anymore. Isabella lowered the gun, her hands steady. It had to be done. I didn't move. I didn't speak. Because now I had a bigger problem. Jonathan. Do you think Jonathan will strike first, or should I make the next move? Drop your predictions. I turned to Isabella. Jonathan won't let this go. She nodded. Then we don't let him breathe. My pulse pounded. For months I had been planning my revenge against Ryan. But now I had a new enemy, and I wasn't going to wait for him to come for me. Would you go after Jonathan immediately, or wait for him to make a mistake? Drop your move. The hotel suite smelled of blood and gunpowder. Ryan's lifeless body lay sprawled on the floor, his once arrogant smirk wiped away forever. But I didn't feel relief, because the real threat was still out there. Jonathan. What do you think Jonathan's next move will be? Strike first or go into hiding? Drop your theories. Isabella pulled in a sharp breath, lowering the gun. We need to move. Now! I swallowed hard, nodding. My hands were steady, but my mind was racing. Jonathan had heard everything. And if I knew anything about men like him, he wasn't the type to sit back and wait. We have to find him before he finds us, I said, my voice firmer than I expected. Isabella met my gaze, her expression unreadable. And what are we going to do when we do? I didn't hesitate. We finish this. Would you go on the attack, or would you set a trap for Jonathan? Drop your move. We wiped down everything we touched, careful not to leave any trace behind. Ryan's death would be discovered soon, but by then, we would already be gone. I grabbed Ryan's phone and scrolled through his last messages with Jonathan. One caught my eye. Jay, meet me at the docks. Midnight. I checked the clock. 11:37 p.m. I turned to Isabella. Jonathan is expecting Ryan at the docks in 20 minutes. Her lips curled into a smirk. Then let's not disappoint him. Do you think Jonathan will suspect something is wrong? Or will he walk into the trap? Drop your guesses. We arrived at the docks just before midnight. The air was thick with tension, the sound of waves crashing against the wooden planks filling the silence. A black SUV was already parked near the water. Jonathan was here. My heart pounded as I spotted him standing by the edge of the dock, his back to us. He was talking on his phone, his voice too low to hear. "He doesn't know yet," Isabella whispered. Good. That meant we had the element of surprise. Would you confront him head-on or take him out from a distance? Drop your strategy. I took a deep breath, gripping the small gun Isabella had given me. My fingers tightened around the cold metal as we moved forward. Jonathan turned at the last second, his eyes narrowing. Then he smirked. I was wondering when you'd show up. Did Jonathan already know Ryan was dead? Or is he bluffing? Drop your theories. Where's Ryan? Jonathan asked, his tone calm. Too calm. I tilted my head, mirroring his smirk. Dead. His face remained neutral, but I saw it, the flicker of something in his eyes. Surprise? Regret? Or was it relief? Took you long enough, he muttered. I stiffened. What? He let out a low chuckle. Ryan was always a liability. Sloppy, selfish. You did me a favor, sweetheart. Did Jonathan set Ryan up from the start? Or is he just trying to manipulate me? Drop your thoughts. Isabella stepped forward, her gun raised. Cut the crap, Jonathan. You're next. He smiled. Am I? He reached into his coat and my body tensed. Was he armed? Then he pulled out a flash drive. You're not thinking this through, he said, holding it up. This has everything. The money trails, the fake accounts, every crime Ryan ever committed. You turn this in and his entire empire collapses. My breath caught. And if I don't? I asked. Jonathan's smirk widened. Then you keep running. And trust me, sweetheart, you won't last long. Would you take the flash drive and expose everything or take Jonathan out? Drop your choice. I reached for the flash drive. Bang. A gunshot echoed through the night. Jonathan's smirk faded, his eyes widening in shock. He staggered back, his hands clutching his stomach. I spun around. Isabella had fired the shot. Did Isabella just save me? Or did she have her own plan all along? Drop your thoughts. Jonathan's body hit the dock with a sickening thud. Blood pooled beneath him, dark and endless. His lips parted as if he wanted to say something, but he never got the chance. Isabella exhaled, lowering the gun. He talked too much. I swallowed hard, looking down at the flash drive still clutched in his lifeless hand. We had won. Do you think Isabella was right to kill him? Or should we have taken him down legally? Drop your verdict. I bent down, prying the flash drive from Jonathan's cold fingers. This was it. The final piece of the puzzle. With this, I could destroy everything Ryan and Jonathan built. I could expose them. Or I could walk away. I turned to Isabella. What now? She smirked. That's up to you, sweetheart. Would you expose the truth or leave it all behind? Drop your final choice. The dock was eerily silent. Jonathan's lifeless body lay at my feet, blood pooling beneath him. The ocean waves crashed against the wood, carrying the scent of salt and gunpowder. And in my hand, the flash drive. Everything I had been searching for. The truth, the proof, the power. Would you release the evidence and burn everything down, or leave it behind and disappear? Drop your final choice. Isabella exhaled, lowering her gun. She turned to me, her lips curling into a smirk. Well, what's it gonna be? I stared at the flash drive, my thoughts spinning. If I exposed it, Ryan's empire would fall. Every dirty deal, every cover-up, every crime. But that would put a target on my back. Jonathan had connections, powerful ones. I wasn't just dealing with two men anymore, I was dealing with an entire system. Would you take the risk and expose them, or walk away and start over? Drop your thoughts. I turned to Isabella. What would you do? She let out a low chuckle. Me? She tilted her head. I'd burn the whole thing to the ground. I swallowed hard. Burn it all down. Destroy everything Ryan and Jonathan built. But at what cost? I could never go back to my old life. If I did this, I would have to disappear. Would you choose revenge or freedom? Drop your final decision. I took a deep breath and... Option 1, destroy them. I pulled out my phone, typing a message to a journalist I trusted. Me. I have a story and proof. Be ready. I sent the flash drive's contents to multiple sources. The moment it went public, there would be no turning back. Ryan's empire? Gone. His name? Ruined. Justice for Emily? Justice for me. I turned to Isabella. Time to disappear. She smirked. I thought you'd never say it. We walked away, leaving the past in flames behind us. Would you have chosen this path? Or do you think it was too risky? Drop your thoughts. I stared at the flash drive for a long moment. Then, slowly, I dropped it into the ocean. The waves swallowed it, dragging the past down into the depths. Ryan and Jonathan were dead. That was enough. I turned to Isabella. Let's go. She raised an eyebrow. You sure? I got what I wanted, I murmured. It's over. And just like that, we disappeared. No revenge, no headlines, just freedom. Would you let the past sink like this? Or would you make sure justice was served? Drop your final thoughts. Whichever path I chose, one thing was certain. I had won. I had taken back control. And Ryan Carter? He had finally paid the price. Would you have played this revenge differently? What was your favorite part of the story? Drop your final thoughts.